I'm James Helder. Welcome to Full Court Football 24. Quite privileged to be joined by former Chelmsford City, Cambridge City, Southend United, Stockport County, Stevenage Borough, Felixstowe, Hardley United, and Ipswich Wanderers, Tesfaye Bramble. What's happening, Tez? How are you?
Not too bad, thanks yourself.
Yeah, not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. I've got to say, it's been very trying times for everyone at the moment, so I hope you and your family are all well.
Yeah, we're good. Homeschooling's been a tough test, but like everyone, we're just getting through it and doing the best we can.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that a little bit. I think the whole nation's had that sort of same problem, same issues and stuff. I want to look back on your football career journey today. Rightly so. You've had a fantastic career, over 200 games in the Football League. Tell me a little bit about your upbringing and your family dynamic and the area you grew up in and stuff.
So we're from Ipswich. Mum and dad sort of left when I was about 10, so he's brought up with mum. Dad sort of in and out and sort of did what he had to do. So there's me. I've got an older sister, Naomi, who works for Walt Disney, human resource management. She went off to uni, got a degree and everything, and then obviously me and Titus played football. So from an area called Napton in Ipswich, which is supposed to be quite rough, mum on her own, we actually done all right for a family, do you know what I mean? So that was the case. Me and Titus started playing football. We was always on the streets. I mean, nowadays you don't see kids on the streets playing football. They're always on the Xboxes and whatnot, and it's a shame because, like people always say, anytime they saw us, we always had a ball in our hand, always kicking the ball, and so that was where the love for football came, and we just competed with each other, and we found that as a drive between us both to who was the better, because there's only a year between me and Titus, and he was always bigger than me, so we kind of used that as a platform to test each other and will each other on and get to where we got to, kind of thing.
What's the earliest memory of yourself competing against your brother? Can you remember that? I'm guessing you, with the sort of close age group, you guys would have been quite competitive as children.
Well, I always played a year above myself. So Titus was a year below me, so he played in my team, so he played 2 years by himself. And again, because he was bigger than me, he was sort of more suited to playing against the bigger boys as to myself. And we started probably about maybe 8, and then he played a year above in our school team, and so we won the sort of local school finals and whatnot. I then got spotted by Ipswich. They sort of said for me to come down, and basically said, "We heard your brother can play as well, like bring him along." So that's when we started. So at 8 years old, we was down at Ipswich. I was there for 8 years. Went all the way through till 16, and then so when it was time to decide about YTSs and whatnot, John Lyle was the manager then, and a guy called Tony Dable was the youth development officer. Things weren't going too well at Ipswich. John Lyle was sacked. George Bailey then came in, but then sacked the whole backroom staff. So Tony Dable was relieved with his duties and whatnot. And I brought in a guy called Colin Suggett from up north. He then decided that I was too small. And because back then I was small, I didn't shoot up till I was about 20 years old. But during this time, I was going to Lilleshall every year. So we had, I think about 4 or 5 years on the trot, I had to go to Lilleshall. Man United also came in for me. And this is when I was like 14, signed scoreboard forms. So Alex Ferguson and that, they came in. Being a homeboy and not really seeing anything outside of Ipswich, I was kind of scared to sort of make the move. And I had this conversation with quite a lot of people in regards to parents and stuff like that. But I don't blame the parents, because they didn't know what we know now in regards to, you know, they'll buy your parents a house, they'll come with you, and you know. So in regards to that, I don't blame them. But turned that down, stayed at Ipswich, and then to find out like 2 years later, after being guaranteed the YTS, to then getting sacked, and it was like, now you're out, and it's, you know, it was a big shock. Mum and dad couldn't believe it, because my dad was like, what, 6'3". My mum was probably 5'11". My sister was big, Titus was big, and it's like, he's going to shoot up, like, but they were basically saying he's too small and blah blah. So I was released, and then sort of went and played sort of local football. I then went to Chelmsford. There's a guy called Lee Honeywood. He used to be at Ipswich as a kid and got injured, and he was our coach from sort of 14, 15 and 16s. And them days, obviously Chelsea, Arsenal, Tottenham were all the big boys, and our team, we were beating all them. So when all this change came, and we was all released, par 2 boys, and they were from up north. One was a guy called Mike Beckham, which is David Beckham's cousin, and another lad called Stuart Ingram, I remember, he was from Middlesbrough, and they were sort of big boys for their age and stuff. And so we was all released, and they was the other 2 they kept on. So Brian Honeywood had an affiliation with Chelmsford. So he then took the whole team pretty much, as we was all released, and we then went and played for Chelmsford City under 18s. Again, he got us friendlies against the Arsenals, the Chelseas, and blah blah. And we were beating all them teams again, because we still had our same team and whatnot. We got to the FA Youth Cup final. I was, funnily enough, Ipswich were playing Rushden and Diamonds in the other semi-final. And if they'd have beat Rushden, it would be my first time playing against Titus. But they then lost to Rushden on penalties, to which we went through and then had to play Rushden in the final. So that was a bit annoying that I didn't get to play against Titus. So I said, like, we was at Chelmsford, and then I think I got in their first team at like sort of 16, 17, and was doing really well. And I say Brian Honeywood, he was like a mentor, father figure, in the sense where when you don't believe in your own ability, he was the one telling me, you know, you're this, you're that. And he set up trials. I went to trials for Norwich, Tottenham, Tranmere. I went back to Ipswich. So, you know, and all these teams, basically, I say all these teams, Ipswich basically sort of said, I'd support. There's a lad called Richard Logan, who's like a really good friend of mine now. And they basically said, he was like playing for England and stuff, like under 15s. And they basically said, if I went back there, I'd spoil his progress coming through the ranks, kind of thing. When I went to Tottenham, I was there for 2 weeks. You know, I was playing with, training with Crouchy, Ledley and whatnot for 2 weeks. Then played a reserve game at St Albans. I done well, to which after, I think David Pleat basically said, I think it was Sergei Rebrov they had up front there, and then a couple of others. They had 4, like Les Ferdinand, they had 4 good strikers, and basically said, you know, we like what we see, but, you know, these guys are on 10 grand a week, and this is when they had reserve teams. So they said, you know, he's on 10 grand a week, and if you didn't play first team, you don't have to play the reserves. So that was the reason I got, well, I didn't get offered anything there. So I sort of persisted at Chelmsford. Again, like doing well. Then I got, I went to Cambridge City. There's a guy called Chris Toby who was there. He went to Cambridge City, and due to politics and whatnot, I think a couple of times at Chelmsford, I think they might have been asking for too much money, but I never knew the ins and outs of what was going on. And so because of that, I sort of went into Cambridge City. And so I think I was only there for maybe half a season, I think. And then Southend obviously come in. And yeah, I went to Southend and did the sort of just after Christmas, January time. So
How did you feel when you made that switch to Southend? Because you've had so many setbacks in your early football career, to now be getting that kind of big move that you've desired, and that little bit of stability, I guess, a little bit more money, a little bit more confidence, a little bit more status. How did you handle that situation?
well, I'm a laid back guy and confident and whatnot anyway. So in terms of that, it's as much as daunting as it was. I've always believed in my ability and whatnot. So, you know, getting there was a bit cool. But then once you get on the training pitch and then you see what you can do to what they can do, it's like I didn't feel out of place basically. So again, I think the first few games I come on as sub and was getting into it. I scored I think in my third game, which gave me the confidence. And Dave Webb was our manager at the time, and you know he was just like a good manager in the sense of he'll build you up and let you know, yeah, you know. And so again, they give you the confidence and belief that you can actually succeed at the level possibly beyond. So,
You remember your debut for the Shrimpers? Can you remember walking out for the first time?
yeah. I remember coming out. It was again very sort of daunting in the sense of all the crowd, and it was a nighttime game. So the spotlights were on, the floodlights were on, and you know it's going warm up, and then you're warming up, and people sort of. But at the time, you've got lads that have come from Tottenham or your West Hams and whatnot, and I've just come from like Cambridge City. Like they probably don't know who Cambridge City were. And so when you're sort of running up and down, and you know people like Phil Whelan, used to play for Ipswich, and players there who was like names who you knew, and again you're just like Tesfaye Bramble from Cambridge City, like so it was daunting. But sort of so when I got on, I can't really remember too much apart from just running about. To be honest with you,
You had 4 good years at Southend. Scored a lot of goals. Can you talk me through your sort of highlights from your time at Southend?
It's strange in the sense of the manager turnover was quite often. I mean, I probably had 6, 7 managers during that time.
Really?
Yeah. And you know we got to the LDV fans final the year Wembley stopped, when they're knocking down the old Wembley. So we got to I never got a chance to play at the old Wembley. So we then went to the Millennium. So we played at the Millennium twice in the LDVs, and then we also played there in the playoffs. So 3 times I've actually played there, but never got to play at Wembley. But again, like going back to the whole Southend thing, it's strange, and like I've done okay, but I've always said that when I look back and reflect on my career, I got to nowhere near where I should have got to. You know, life decisions and just the way, probably my outlook on life, dedication and commitment should have been a lot more higher. And I believe had I had the attitude and dedication, say like Titus had, then I would have been playing a lot higher than at Southend.
What do you put that down to? You and Titus have grown up in the same household. I know you said he naturally had that advantage of being a bit taller from younger, but on the mental side, for the mental attributes, why do you think he managed to stay focused and kept his training to a high standard where sometimes you would, from your own words, going off the rails and being wayward? Why do you think the difference is, and how did that sort of come about?
I basically put that down to he got a YTS at Ipswich. So every day he's in and he's getting drilled and you know. So whereas I got released, I was then playing sort of non-league and going out with friends. You know, I could go out the night before a game and whatnot. And you sort of, again, I sort of said, like, I got away with a lot pure on ability. So had I like been out the night before, I mean, a lot of the times at Cambridge or Chelmsford, I'd probably been out the night before and still played and done what I'd done, kind of thing. So to say, like, with the attitude and dedication, it's like I'd fell into that way and been able to get away with it. So going forward, it was one of them things where I'd always been able to not wing it as such, because there'd be like times where I'd still probably play great games and probably been out on a Thursday or whatever. But at Ipswich or any youth team, with the fines, with the older pros and them drumming it into you, I never had all that. And so I sort of put it down to that, in the sense of where, and I never had anyone sort of to really sort of say to me, you got a game tomorrow, stay in, when I was at non-league. So, you know, I was kind of like a free spirit in the sense where I just did what I wanted to do.
Like we said, to get from non-league to the level you've got, regardless of background, regardless of opportunity, it's a fantastic achievement in itself. So I said I wouldn't be too harsh on yourself, because many people haven't had the chance or have the ability to get to a quarter of the level that you've played at, Tez. So I wouldn't be too harsh on yourself from that point of view, mate.
You say that, but again, it's reflection and it's hindsight and it's old age. And like I said, even when I look back at some of the sort of paper cuttings, you know, I don't know if you can see behind me some of the pictures with goal of the month and player of the month and stuff like that. You look back and it's like, and it's probably not just me, it's probably a lot of people in general life, you know, not outside football and whatnot. When you look back and think, if only. So when you look at it, if only, and it's like, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be so hard on myself to say, like, yeah, I didn't do okay. But I know, and I'm constantly reminded by a lot of the people around Ipswich, that I should have got to a lot higher with the ability and the stuff I had. So,
do you remember playing in goal for Southend? Do you remember that day? You made some brilliant saves, by all accounts.
Yeah. Basically, we played Boston, and Flavs, Daryl Fulhaven, I think he got sent off, but we was ready. We were 2-0 up, and I was actually having a good game. He got sent off 5 minutes before half time, and sort of looked over to the bench and sort of, you know, back going to goal. And in training, I'm always clowning about anyway, so I always used to go and goal and just sort of, you know. So they basically said, "Oh, well, go and goal till half time, and then at half time we'll assess the situation and whatnot." So when we got to half time, they sort of said, "Oh, you know, are you happy?" I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." Like, and I remember I saved a free kick, which I sort of tipped around the post. There was another one, and then every corner would come in, standing there bricking it, and it's like, you know, bodies in front of you, and it's like, I don't even know if they were punching in the Premiership then, but every time I went trying to catch it. I was just sort of trying to punch it out, trying to do like drop kicks from my hand. I remember a couple of times I'd kicked it and it just bounced once and bounced out the other end, and it's like, you know, I've got to take a bit off this. And funnily enough, we won 2-1. I conceded one goal. We won 2-1 still, but I took a goal kick, and I remember I jarred my knee, and so I sort of carried on. But then I was injured for about however long after that, because I jarred my knee actually taking a goal kick.
It's around about this time as well that your lineage is checked and you get a call up for MONTSERAT. How did that come about?
So basically, we were brought up on an estate called Whitton. Roy Fox is from Whitton. You know, he was manager of MONTSERAT at the time. Well, his family are from there. my granddad on my mum's side are from there. The ways they're from Montserrat, and obviously Real knew that this connection was there. And I say he was the manager, and he sort of asked me like a few times, and I was like nah. And then he kind of persuaded me. He said, "I'll just come over and have a look." I remember I was injured at the time at Southend, and I was then getting back to fitness, and Southend were basically sort of trying to block me from going. To which Foxy then sort of said, you know, if they have to take it to FIFA, because I think internationals take preference over your club. So, you know, you go and their doctors will tell you if you're fit, and if you're not, then you go back, kind of thing. Anyway, so I sort of said to Foxy, okay, I'll come and give it a look. I said, what do I need to bring? He said, if you want to play, bring your boots. Otherwise, just bring shorts and t-shirt. I said, okay. So, you know, sort of flight. We had to fly to Antigua, and then jump on a boat from Antigua to Montserrat, which is the roughest boat ride I've ever been on, by the way. But, and got there, and it was that hot that you have to train in the evenings. Stayed at a nice little hotel, and everything was cool. Trained in the nights with the lads. I sort of watched the first few, and then sort of doing my running and my rehab on the side of the thing. Then went round the island to just see where the family's from, just so I got to know a bit. And I say we played St Kitts and Nevis, and we had another game. But I didn't play the first one, but I played the second one when I realised how easy it was. So I started, and I think I came off and we were 4-1 up. It was about 70 minutes gone. I'd scored one, set one up, and been brought down for a penalty. Foxy also played like a holding midfielder, so we I say it was my Sunday league team would beat the Montserrat team that I played. So that was a level of the. I mean, the pitch was Sunday league, but again, it was nice to actually just go out there, and it made my granddad happy. He's passed now, bless him, but it made him happy that I'd gone back and represented his country as such. And yeah, but so I come off with a 4-1 up, 20 minutes left, we lost 5-4. So shows you.
I can tell by speaking to you how proud it must have made your family. Because it's something like, imagine you travel to a different country, you then make roots and bring up your family. But then one of your sort of offspring to go back and play for your country of origin, it must have made your granddad extremely proud. Must have.
Yeah, he was really happy. We had there was a lad called Wayne Dyer. There's a few people that were sort of playing probably conference, maybe level below. No, not in conference. Probably a couple of levels below conference. And I say their families, and they'd been going over for however long. So you know, when I got there was sort of a lot of the English boys there. I mean, the local ones out there were horrific. And they just enjoyed seeing English boys and actually training and playing with people half decent, I think. But again, even with them, they've been over a lot more times than me, and sort of explained like how it sort of went. But unfortunately, there was a problem with the chairman and secretary or something, and basically with money and whatnot. So that was the only time I went, which is a shame, because Foxy then didn't go back either due to political differences and whatnot. So it was a shame, really, but that's how it goes.
I know you went out on loan to Cambridge United for a little while. How was that experience for you?
That was really good. So Rob Newman was our manager at one point. I played with him at Southend, and he was our manager. He then went to Cambridge United, and Steve Tilson was our manager. I think his name was Claude something. He was manager of one of the African teams in the World Cup. It's what he lived off. He was the manager, and Rob Newman was his assistant. And Rob obviously saying like I weren't really playing. I think Freddie Eastwood had come in at that time, and I was on the bench quite a lot. And Rob had seen it and sort of said, "Oh, you know, my friend Ashley Nichols is also an Ipswich lad. he was at Cambridge United then, so which helped persuade me to sort of go. There was only 10 games left, and they were sort of fighting relegation, and Southend was pushing for promotion. So I went and I scored 5 in 9. Obviously couldn't play against one of the games because it was against Southend. But I always put this down to, I played up front with Ewan Roberts. And so when I went to Cambridge City, he was then the target man and I was going in behind again. So when I first went to Southend, because of my smaller stature, I was running behind. So when I was scoring goals, because I was running behind. But then as I sort of got bigger, I then became the one to do the donkey work as such, and have to hold up and play other people in. And so when it comes to like the goal record and stuff like that, that's why I sort of put it down to that. I mean, I say, yes, like I said, Ewan Roberts was a big help because I was then going in behind. And I always say, with Emil Hiskey, and I tell everyone, and people say about his goal record and whatnot, you ask Shearer, Michael Owen, Rooney, you ask any of them who they'd rather play with, and Hiskey is the guy that they'd rather play with because he'll do your donkey work for you as such, and you're the guy running behind, and he do the stuff you don't want to do. So their goal record is the help because he's being the face-up guy. And again, when people sort of say about him being this and that, you don't play for England under all their managers, start all them times under all their managers, and not be any good. Liverpool bought him, and they had a few managers. Like, you don't have a career like his and play for, England and whatnot, being not a donkey, but do you know they sort of put you in a bracket as where try and look at your goal record, and it's like, but he does more for the team than actually score goals.
That's a valid point. Michael Owen said the exact same thing. He enjoyed playing with Esky the most just because of how unselfish he was, and like you said, he just put it about and did the work that the other guys didn't really fancy. Do you know what I mean? Great player. I'd like to come on now to you returning to the Shrimpers, and then contract negotiations not coming to fruition, and then your decision to leave the club on a free Bosman. Talk to me about that period and that process.
So like I said, went on loan to Cambridge. Obviously scored 5 in 9. It was the last game of the season. Did Cambridge? I'm not sure if they still got relegated or not. But I was in the shower. I was booked to go Vegas on a Tuesday, and Rob Newman comes in and he said, "Oh, you going Vegas Tuesday?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You're not?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Oh, Southend have called you back. They want you to go back." And it's like, okay. So I sort of, it weren't the Tuesday, it was the following Tuesday after, sorry. And so I went back and trained. We played Northampton in the playoffs. It was on a Sunday. I think I pulled my thigh, and Steve Tilson was my manager then. And he obviously knew that I was supposed to go to Vegas, and he was saying like you're not going to Vegas, like. And I'm like, it's genuine that I pulled my thigh. I don't think you believe me. Like, even like doing my rehab and stuff like that, I didn't plan the return leg, and I weren't even fit to the final. We got to the Millennium, and I still weren't fit, So it was gutting to sort of miss playing in that game. We was there in the box watching, and happy for the lads to get promotion. But in my head, I kind of knew that time was up, due to be putting out on loan, and he's questioning me about my thigh, and then if I'm feigning injury and stuff like that. So I knew it was time was up. But funnily enough, I nearly got a move to Nottingham Forest after that when Gary Mason was manager. But I can't remember who they took instead. They've got someone else instead, and that was a bit of a blow. But
the contracts with contract talks with Nottingham Forest were at an advanced level. You're thinking this is almost over the line, then it looked like it was going to go through.
I wouldn't say they were advanced level. They were basically talking about, again, Raw Fox was the connection to that. But pretty much it was, I'd say speculation. But Foxy kind of sort of was adamant that like they were seriously interested and wanted you to go, kind of thing. But again, it's one of them where you're out of contract, suddenly another player's contract negotiations break down where he is, and say like if they're coming down from say like a Premiership or somewhere like that, okay, we're going to go and take him because he's been at a high level and whatnot. You know, it's something along them lines. But
your next destination was Stockport County. Stockport County came in to sign you, big signing for the club. Talk me through that period and that process of settling into a new area, a new town, a new team, new teammates. How did that come to fruition for you?
There was a sort of agent who was sort of working with a couple of the boys at Southend, and he sort of said about getting me up there. Rochdale were one of the teams. Yeah. So I said Rochdale coming for me. And I think my agent had affiliations with Chris Turner. So he took me to Stockport. I basically went up, had a medical, signed. And then I only found out, I signed a 2-year contract. But then I only found out after I'd left that the physios basically said when I signed, he could see that I still had hamstring problems. And he told the management, like, no, he's got like hamstring problems and whatnot. But they basically turned around and said to him, like, if he leaves his ground now and goes out, he's going to go and sign for Rochdale. I then also found out that Rochdale had offered more wages-wise, more. I was getting more money at Rochdale than I would at Stockport, but it was more lucrative for the agent for Stockport. So, and this is all after I'd left there, you know. So,
how did you?
Again, it shows you the way football works, but
how did this?
Again,
how did this information come to your knowledge? How did you find out about this stuff? Would it be through the football grapevine, or did you have a conversation with the said agent?
No, I went with an agent. Well, one of my good friends is Ashley Williams. He was at Stockport. He's been Wales captain and whatnot. You know, he's Bristol City now. Even till now, we still go up and see Ash, and you know, families are close and everything. So when I'd left, he basically spoke to the physios, and they were sort of, you know, just general chit chat. And the physios basically told him the information, to which he then passed on to me, which is, yeah. So,
how did you enjoy your time at Stockport as a player? Because I'm guessing all this stuff came to light after the fact you left the club or departed. So, how did you enjoy your time while you was there as a player?
I loved it. You know, I got big ground, and behind the main, one of the main stands is called a cheetah end, and it was pretty much packed every time. So, you know, you pretty much really enjoyed scoring there. Going up to Manchester weren't so much. So when I said earlier about me being a homely lad and whatnot, going up to Manchester weren't so bad because Marcus Bent was playing for Everton at the time, and obviously friends with him from Ipswich. I had another couple of friends and sort of family in that area. So as much as I was living on my own, I was still going to theirs to be fed. And so yeah, nightlife was great. Again, I'm sort of on record before saying I weren't shy of a night out. So, you know, that was great. And basically, like, integrating into the team and everything was pretty straightforward. But I do remember that the one story, my first day when I went to Stockport training pre-season, and I said, you know, what they do is send a young lad out to run around the field, time him, and then basically say, put your time against his. But young lads are keen, and he'll run as fast as he sort of can to do one lap. And now you got to do, they said 7 laps. So we had 45 minutes to do 7 laps. So that's not too bad. So ran. I didn't realise when you got to the top, it then went back out and round. Anyway, so we're doing it, and I was probably about 5th from the back. Goalies are like not too far behind me, and so the top runners have sort of then come around to sort of start near lapping you, and so I got to done 6 laps. I got back. They said, "Oh, you got one more to do." I said, "Nah, I'm not doing any more, mate." And they sort of said, "No, you just got." I said, "I'm not doing any more." I said, "I come here to play football, not run around the field." Like, obviously, some of the lads couldn't believe it. So these guys just signed and he's refusing not to run. But then a couple of other lads who come in after me was sick, asthma attack, but put a ball in front of me, I'll do all the running. But that long running stuff, I'm not built for that. I'm not Mo Farah.
Do you think that put you on the back foot then at Stockport? Do you think that maybe didn't sort of win over your peers straight away? How do you think that went down?
No, because I say the minute the ball came out, I would do all the ball work and the short, sharp stuff. I'd do all that and was up there. It's just that long, constant running. I mean, I was on record from before at Southend with hamstring and back problems and stuff like that. So this constant just weren't good for me. But I said, with a commitment to turning up on time, to training, planning the games, they sort of saw that very quickly. So, as much as that weren't great on my part, they pretty much knew straight away that I still give 100%, and basically jumped on top of other people who I thought weren't, even though it's a sort of thing to say when I didn't do an extra lap. But I sort of felt like I tried to keep the standards high for everyone in the team. And
you mentioned Marcus Bent, great talent. We've had the pleasure of having Benty on the channel and going through his career and stuff. How helpful was he for you settling at that time and just being able to pick up the phone and talk to a friend or a fellow professional in that area?
Yeah, he helped me massively. I say one of the main things is when you move to a new club, is settling in the area, people you don't know. And I say at the time, I was a single lad, so I had no family to come up with me. I think Titus was at Newcastle, my sister was in London, and mum was in Ipswich. So we were sort of dotted all over the place. And I say, Marcus sort of took me to places to eat, and we had a night out, and through going out with Marcus, I'd then meet certain other people, his friends in Manchester, and I think it was only a year he was there before he then left and went somewhere else. But through that, I now had his friends and was going out with them and meeting up with them. So it was nice to still be able to do what I did without him there, kind of thing.
What's a average night out for a footballer like in Manchester at that time?
I've got to say on the pod. Expensive, but obviously not for them. It's not expensive, but I'd pretty much say what you can imagine is what it is. So I'll just leave it at that, to be honest with
you. Yeah. Sum up your time at Stockport for me. How would you put that whole experience into words?
I'd say it's stop start. Again, injuries sort of played a part. I remember I had a double hernia up. They didn't want me to have the operation. They wanted me to play because they were going through a bad patch. But then before that, I was on the bench, and it's like, so again with loyalty and stuff like that, it's this the balance. So I basically sort of said, they told me I needed a double operation, like, so I'll just get it done, kind of thing. To which I had it done. Came back again. They were still struggling relegation. So I sort of put in the extra graft to get fit and get back as soon as I could, and sooner than I should have done. And I remember we played Darlington in the last game of the season, or second last game, and we beat them 5-0. I think I set 2 up. So yeah, we stayed up. Anyway, so the club had told me that I won't get a new contract. Went down to Stevenage. Then again, my friend Ashley sort of told me that in the papers, Jim Gannon had gone on record as saying that they offered me a contract and I refused the contract, which was, like, really? And then half of me wanted to sort of phone up the paper and sort of put my side across. But again, I don't think it would have been any good for Stockport for me doing that. So I kind of just took it on the chin. So when you have supporters with social media and sort of saying, why didn't I sign? You kind of sort of like, I didn't get offered. Had I been offered, then I would have signed. So that was that, really.
I think the manager was getting backlash for letting you go. And the fans sort of asking the question why you wasn't offered a new contract and stuff. So it's kind of a case of trying to pass the buck on to the player, in this case, you.
Yeah, 100%. And I've known of cases where this happens quite a lot. And, again, from a player's point of view, you're not going to get anything out of going back and sort of arguing. Like I said, I love my time at Stockport, and for me going to the papers and sort of saying that would only be his word against mine, it caused friction, and it's the last thing they needed after the season had just had and stuff. So it was one of the ones that, like I said, I just took on the chin and just got on with it, kind of thing.
Sounds like you really enjoyed your time at Stockport. I know you've enjoyed your time everywhere, but I mean, it sounds like the club still has a little special place in your heart.
Yeah, it does. Like I said, Ashley still lives in Manchester. Last year when I went back, we was at his, and I took my little boy down to Edgeley Park to show him where our daddy used to play. There's a guy called Richard Langdon who used to be our kitman. He was still there. So I took him in and sort of sat and had a cup of tea with Rich, and we was sort of talking. And then, so my boy basically, he got a Stockport kit, so we got a Stockport kit. But, like I said, the fans were good. The club as a whole, because I was like living local, there was a few that sort of living in Stoke-on-Trent and wherever. But because I was living local, I did quite a bit of sort of community work. I think then I was 27. And a lot of the lads that came through were youngsters. So I was, again, so when you talk about, setting a good example and stuff like that, I found myself sort of putting them right and not schooling them, but giving them advice. And, for the amount of players we had come through that team who've gone on to much bigger clubs, internationals and whatnot. And I sort of look back and I sort of find myself, some of them still play now. And I say sometimes I sort of sit there, my little boy, and say, Daddy played with him. And again, this is where you go back to at the start when I sort of said about me being not happy with my career, in the sense of where, if you look where he's got to. Say Glenn Murray, for instance, he came to Southend on trial and didn't get in because I had that spot kind of thing and whatnot. Leon Britton came to Southend, trial, didn't get in, and then you go and look and you see where their careers have gone. And then I say Glenn Murray then came to Stockport, funny enough, when I was there, and we sort of played alongside each other. So it's funny the way you look at football, with the players that are coming in and out. There's such a close bond with footballers because you're with them every day, all the time. But then once you finish, you then sort of just ease out, and then you don't really have that connection anymore, which is a shame. I say, luckily enough, there's still a few in football that you sort of keep in contact with, and you got that bond and just carry on. But you can't do that with everyone. It's like every walk in life, really. But
was it hard for you to leave Stockport to join Stevenage Borough, or was the decision taken?
It wasn't hard at all. Yeah, it wasn't hard at all. They didn't offer me a contract. I had no choice. And at that time, I just got back with my partner, who I was with her before I went, and we sort of split up. When I went, I was sort of wanted to come up. You know, she didn't want to. She was a homely girl as well. She didn't want to come. So I sort of went up there, and in that summer, I think we went to. I was in Marbella, and we were still speaking again. We sort of said about giving it another go and whatnot. So on the basis of that, I then chose Stevenage to come back home and, you know, give the relationship another try, kind of thing. I was only at Stevenage for a year. That was probably the worst year in my football career, like ever, due to like injuries and not being able to, body-wise, not being able to do what I could always do. But on the flip side of that, I'm now engaged and got 2 kids with the girl I come back for. So,
how did you, firstly, at Stevenage, you got that year? Injuries are starting to take its toll on your body. Probably 28, 29, so still relatively quite young for a footballer. You should be in the peak of your career. How was your body holding up, and how did you sort of manage it to keep yourself playing?
So I went to Stevenage in 2007, and I said, all for my career, I've always had hamstrings, backs, and again, I'll probably put it down to not looking after myself, in the sense of eating the correct foods like you're supposed to. I mean, I didn't eat sloppily, but I like I said, preparation and stuff like that, I could have done better. So all through my career, living on my own and whatnot, like it's a thing that it's a thing that I look back at, and probably regret. But saying as far as when you look now with the healthy side of football and the do this and do that, we never had all that back then. So knowledge-wise, it could have been a lot more, in the sense of take care of my body and living right, shall we say.
So how did your time at Stockport County finish, and what was your next destination after that?
So basically I got injured at Stevenage, and I had knee problems. I've always had, not always had, I had cartilage problems. I think I had a couple of operations during the season. So basically, through wear and tear of playing so much from when we just keep going all the way through, I had no cartilage, so my bones are basically rubbing against each other, to which my knee inflamed. And, you know I needed an operation, and they sort of was trying to get me through, but it got to a point where I couldn't actually sort of run properly without sort of affecting it. And so with it being a sort of injury hit season, not playing very much, not scoring very many goals, I knew my contract was up and weren't going to renew it. So I then needed another operation. But the thing at Stevenage is, the chairman, Phil Wallace, I think he's still chairman now, insurance-wise, it was under his personal insurance. So anytime anyone needed an operation, you had to go through his insurance kind of thing. So, you know, he'd always try and question it and whatnot. So at the end, they knew I needed an operation, so they then put me in the Spire Hospital in Harpington, was where they thingied. So they arranged for me to have the operation. To which, by the time I went to go and have the operation, my contract had now expired. So they then said that they weren't paying for the operation, and then I had to pay for the operation. And it was like, I think it was anywhere between 10 and 20 grand. And it's like, you know, I then sort of spoke to the PFA about it, and they basically sort of said, you know, your contract's up, they don't have to pay for the operation kind of thing. So with that being said, I kind of took time out from football and realised that with my leg, I weren't going to be able to play at a level what I had been playing at. And I say due to like friends being managers back in Ipswich, friends playing at a sort of just senior level, I realised that, okay, cool, you can still make a little money, obviously not what I was making, but you can still make a little money sort of playing here, and I'd be able to get away with it with my leg being as it was. Again, you talk about ability and stuff like that, so I knew that I could go there and do a job and still make a little money, but that was that. But again, it's still one of them ones where not being happy with yourself, you're doing it out of, I don't want to say spite, but it's for the love of the game and playing football. But in yourself, you know you're not doing what you could be doing or maybe should be doing. So that was hard to take.
I can imagine it was hard to take for someone that feels they haven't fulfilled their potential with their talent to then be forced to pack up, to quit, to not be able to play no more. Kind of guess that must have been a real hard thing to take, and a real blow to yourself as a man and your confidence and everything that goes alongside being able to do your job.
Yeah, it's massive. And again, you know, we talk about mental health in football, and I've always said, and I bang on to everyone about it all the time still now, you have the PFA come in, you know, talk to you when you sort of 18, 19, 20 or whatnot, tell you you can do these courses, them courses, they'll fund your courses and blah, blah, blah. That's fine. But every kid at like sort of that age, you think you've got a chance and you're going to go on and you know, not have to worry about it. So I've always said that they need to come in when you're sort of 25, 26, where you know where you're at with your career and you know, money-wise and what you expect and where your career's going. Okay, so remind you then, because when you told me like 6 years ago, these people sitting there like it's pre-season, you've just done a hard train like double session, they're sitting there talking to you. The last thing you're doing is taking all the information about what you can do and what you should do. And so that's why I said they need to come in when you're sort of a bit older and where you know where you're at with your careers and basically sort of give advice and help. I say mental health, it's these things like that. So if they come in then mentally, they're preparing you for what happens after. But say as an 18-year-old and you go through, so even me from 28 when I retired to not knowing what I'm going to do next, because you don't expect it to end just like that. I mean, when you get to sort of 35 and whatnot, you can start preparing because you know your time's coming to an end. But at 28, I was like, you know, like what do I do? Where do I go? And it's the thing with footballers is not your macho side, but your mentality to being a winner and being the best at trying to do what you need to do, to then coming off and that's all you've known, to then what am I going to do now? Like, you know, and trying to sort of keep your, I wouldn't say bravado, but your reputation of what you built up, to then going from signing autographs and being this guy and that guy to then just being, oh, I used to play football. Like, you know, it's it's hard, and it's life changing to everything was about to happen for your future and not having no direction as such.
I think you made a real valid point there. We see so much structure in a footballer's life, excuse me, all the way through their career, from academy, if they're fortunate enough to come that route, to then sort of under 23s, and then all the way through to the first team. Every need's done, every action's thought about, to then absolutely nothing, to no support network, to no infrastructure, to no, like I said, bar the PFA. What would you have changed, or what would have helped you at that time? You've mentioned about having the courses offered you later on in your career, but what other action do you think you would have found helpful when you were forced to retire from the game that you've played as a job?
I'm not sure really. I'd probably say, again, having a sort of direction as to what you wanted to do, you was interested in. I mean, fortunately now, like I said, we talked about the nightlife and stuff like that. So fortunately now I've got my own promotions company. So I put nights on, we do weddings, we do parties, and again, this is what I know. This is, so it's something that you fall into, and you know what you're talking about with this, you know what you're talking about with that, and things like that. So like other things, I mean, some people sort of go and do courses or degrees and go on to be like plumbers or whatever. But for me, that was never something I was interested in. So in regards to like the promotions company, I didn't do it straight away. It took a few years and whatnot, but just using your knowledge to go and to put to use, paying off.
If there's anything you could change about your career, the way it played out in any aspect, what would you change?
Dedication, right at the start. So focus, dedication, and application would be what I would have changed. Because, like I said, had I had them, I believe I probably wouldn't be sitting here with you now, to be honest with you. No offence.
Oh, yeah, that's slightly harsh. That's slightly harsh. Yeah, like I say, we never know what way life's going to play out. These things, again, they're sometimes out of your hands. You can only do the best you can with what you can. So I think trying to, like you say, determination would be a big thing. What advice would you give to young players that are kind of at that stage in their young development and their young aspiring professional careers? What advice would you give them from someone who's been there and done it?
Put your time in. Work hard. I mean, these are all cliches and things that I just said, but mentally, you need to be strong. There's going to be setbacks and whatnot. So if you can focus and understand that, yeah, okay, that set me back. Right, now I'm going to have the will to come back and be stronger than I was before. So yeah, there's the things that probably set people apart from to where I was, kind of thing. Your will, your dedication, your commitment, and stuff like that. So I'd say they were the main things.
What was your favourite moment of your professional footballing career? If there was one day you could relive over and over again, or if someone said this, you could have one moment or one clip to show someone to represent your footballing journey and footballing career, what would it be?
I don't think I'd be able to say there was one. I mean, when I went on loan at Cambridge, we played Wycombe Wanderers at home, and there was a day where it was international weekend. So it was a weekend where all the clubs sort of go and support another team, and they was all down at ours, sort of at Cambridge United, and I happened to score like a wonder goal from just near the semicircle, near the halfway line. That was like a great moment. But just in terms of the goal, I mean, Stockport, I've scored like overheads. Like Southend, I've done the same, and even with like the LDV fans finals, I was sub, and so like winning it was like, yeah, it's great, but because I didn't play such a major part, it weren't it's not the same. I mean, one of the big ones what I do remember, and I really enjoyed the night, was we played Canby Island, which is a local derby with Southend. I think we drew at our place in the FA Cup and then had to go to a replay at theirs. And it was on Sky Sports. So during the week, me and a lad called Leon Court, Carl Court's brother, me and him, so at the time Carl was playing with Titus in Newcastle, so they came down and me and him had to do an interview down at Southend here and whatnot. And yeah, so we played the game on the Tuesday, and yeah, I scored in that game, and just to what it meant to the fans and the whole Southend, because at the time Canvey were on the up, and there's a guy called Jeff King who was paying like serious money, and they actually believed that they were better or on par with Southend, even though there was like the league below or whatever. So it was a tough one, but again, scoring in that and what it meant to the fans and to the club, it was enjoyable.
Do you see yourself ever involved in the game again in another capacity, whether that be coaching, management, or scouting? Is that something you've ever given any thought to?
I've done my first 2 coaching badges, and realistically, I say kids come along and whatnot, get a daytime job or whatever. But recently, for the last 2-3 years, I've been managing a vets team in Ipswich called Witten United. I say with my contacts, so I had Kieran Dyer, Titus playing, Will Fox, Carlos Edwards, my friend Ashley Nichols was playing. We had a lad called Danny Potter playing in goal. He's who I scored against in that Canby Island game. So yeah, and then the best are the local lads. They obviously like, so went unbeaten for the 2 years that I was actually manager, and just through this COVID thing, I've sort of resigned and sort of passed the baton on as such, and we'll just go down and just watch them enjoy it rather than sort of deal with the conversations and whatnot. But with my boy playing, I'm sort of just going to watch him and just enjoy just watching football now rather than sort of partaking in anything else.
Did you get the same buzz from managing the vets team? I know it's not an ordinary vets team, that's like some super exhibition squad, but did you get a similar buzz from that to what you did when you were playing?
Nah. I mean, I sort of said, I sort of say all the time about it. It's like, you're one of the lads, like after the game, you're friends and whatnot, but being the manager, like before the game, you can't actually just have a laugh and just talk about this. You still need to be switched on or thinking about, as much as the players who they are, and it was like, but you still need to be focused and make sure that this is done right, that's done right. Yeah, so in the sense of just having a banter and whatnot, you do get involved, but not to the level where they're actually just chilling and they ain't got to worry about anything else. All they got to worry about is doing the warm-up and playing, where you're worrying about cornflakes, the ball pump up with the ref. Like, yeah, so it's all that. So no, it's not the same at all.
Fair play. Got to say, I've really enjoyed going over your career today. Lastly, I think we should just talk about a little bit about your family life and how important that family is to you.
I've always been really family orientated. So even when I was at Stockport, maybe probably once a month I'd still get back, come and see Nan and Grandad, Mum and the rest of the family. I say Nan and Grandad used to live in Witten, where I was managing the team. And on a Sunday, everyone would come and we'd have like a little tea and whatnot. So the place to be on a Sunday, just like sometimes how you see in these American films and that. But so a few years ago, they both sort of passed within a year or so of each other. And now it's not the same. So we don't go as a family with, like I say, we chop the head off the snake. So it's like now we're not as close. So I've sort of tried to go out of my way to sort of make it so at least 3 times a year I'll hire a hall and we'll get all the family in. This family will make this, do this. So we'll have like a buffet and we'll just have a catch up. And so, yeah. So in regard to that, that's that. But with my fiance and my kids, again, sort of trying to make it and make sure that, like I said, you enjoy the time. Like because before you know it, they're going to be adults, they're going to be off here, and you're not going to see them, So it's just one of them things. Titus is back in Ipswich now. Mum lives around the corner, so we all live within sort of 10 minutes of each other. So, and I'm quite dab-handed on the barbecue. So when the weather's all right, I'll get that on, and that's an excuse for them to, mum and brother, to come over and see the kids. And it's, yeah, so I'll try my best.
Rightly so. Tez, I've really enjoyed your company, even via Zoom. Thank you ever so much for sharing your story and your career today. It's been a great pleasure. And when things get back to normal, hopefully I might be able to get down and get a little bit of barbecue chicken in my life, you know what I mean? So it'd be great to catch up with you in person. And thank you ever so much for and I appreciate it.
No worries, thank you. Cheers.